Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Great.
So I guess when you're not live, you can't hear. Okay.
Oh wow. Okay.
Hello. I was like, I thought we could talk to each other in the backstage first. Hey, Tramaine. I can't hear him.
I can't hear him either.
We can't hear you. No. Oh man.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
He might he
See if
might
you can take the headphones out and see how it sounds. If we can hear you. No. Oh, okay. All right. So we're gonna get started because it's 6:01. I
Mhm.
want to definitely thank you for doing this because definitely when the girls when you came to the girls group, they were like, when can we hear from him again? So I definitely wanted to talk to you, especially with this pandemic going on.
Yeah.
Um, and dealing with the youth. I had another interview earlier with Miss Nisi T with Kids Got Talent too,
Mhm.
to just talk to the children about still pursuing, especially their talents, because this is the time, if not any time. Um,
Right.
while we have free time, this is the best time to not forget about, and even as adults too. Hey, Tremaine. Oh, let me put him on. Hey,
Bring me in on the party.
yeah,
Nah.
there
Y'all
we
can
Oh,
hear me
go.
now?
There we go.
you can hear now.
Here we
Beautiful.
go.
Beautiful.
Okay, all right. So yeah, I was sharing with Dr. Key about earlier. I had an interview, just talking to the children about making sure that no matter what, they don't forget about their talents, especially during this time, because this is the best time while you're in the house, while you have time, um, to continue to cultivate your talents. But what we wanted to talk about was coping with Corona, and I wanted to bring the therapist in
The
because
therapist. Right. So,
because this as an adult, I'm like, as an adult, I go through my little waves, as I was sharing before, is different when you don't want to be bothered,
Mhm.
and you
definitely.
shut people out, you know what I'm saying? You take your little hiatus and all of that. I do that often where I shut the phone off, I send out text messages, I change my voicemail to let people know that I'm really not, you know. But now it's different because it's like you have to, you know what I'm saying, for safety precautions. You can't do this, you can't do that, you know. Make sure you do this, make sure you wear this, and I'm like, if I'm struggling with it a little bit as an adult,
Oh
I can
yeah.
only imagine what youth are feeling, because
Hmm.
number one, they're separated from their friends, um
Anxiety.
separated from their
So
teachers,
anxious.
right? Anxious, anxiety. And the other day, I was kind of like taken back because my 5 year old, we were doing his work on a computer or whatever. And he's like, okay, I'm ready for Zoom. And I'm like, there's no Zoom. We're on spring break. And he's like, I want to see my teachers. I want to see my friends. So I'm like, oh no, we got to get a grip on this thing. So
Definitely.
so what kind, like, I want you to talk to us, Dr. Key, because like, like I said, if me as an adult is kind of taking this shift, dealing with it as a child, like,
It's tough. It's really tough. I'm still trying to digest a 5-year-old knowing what Zoom is.
Yeah.
What?
What is that?
A 5-year-old knowing what
video
Zoom is?
game?
But that's the time we're living in. I mean, technological advancement, that's all they know. I mean, they are born thinking that their pointer finger is magical. When I swipe, it moves.
Right.
That's all they know.
Right.
So we definitely have to take into consideration what they're going through during this time. And I think that when it comes to young people, when it comes to kids, you have to look at it from a developmental perspective as well, because the needs of a 5-year-old are very different from the needs of a 13-year-old.
Right.
Gotcha.
And I think that, being home now and kind of being the parent and trying to manage yourself, it's difficult for you to kind of meet those developmentally appropriate needs for each of those children, but they have to be considered, because the 13-year-old, you can't deal with the 13-year-old like you deal with the 5-year-old.
Right.
And if you try to deal with the 13-year-old the way you deal with the 5-year-old, you're going to have some trouble on your hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Because they're going to let you know, hey, like, you can't just put a tablet in front of me and expect me to go away.
Right.
13-year-olds, they're like, I have a life, I have friends, I got things to do, I got people to see, and the government and you, mom and dad, are messing it up for me. I can't, I don't like y'all. You know what I mean? You'd be surprised how many parents have contacted me to kind of like get their young person in therapy, because the 13-year-old, the teenagers are having the most difficulty to me.
Right.
Because somehow they're displacing the blame onto the parents as to why they can't do.
So I'm gonna touch on that real quick, Doc.
Please
I'm
do.
sorry to express myself so quick. So I'm dealing with this at home. I promise you, my 2 kids have therapists, and they have been talking to their therapist for the last 3 weeks now. The last 3 weeks has been rocky. It's been rough. We've been having to start over therapy because of this pandemic, and then like the connection, then the schedules, and all that kind of stuff is, getting between like us, keeping a consistent schedule with the therapist. We got school schedules, we got work schedules. Things can be pretty much tough on a parent's perspective as well. But like, I've noticed like the last few times that my children had therapy sessions through Zoom, they wasn't more so promoting. They didn't really want to do it at first, and I had to pretty much kind of be there the first couple of times to kind of give them that that spark. Look, listen, this is what we need. This is why we're doing it.
Right.
And just today, the therapist called me, and they was on the line for about 10 minutes before my child even got on the line. Mind you, I'm an essential worker. I'm still at work. My kid is at home, of course, and I'm trying to navigate 12 different things at one time. It definitely could be complacent when it comes to the child being responsible enough to get on that Zoom call by themselves. Because my kid is 13 and 12. So, I don't necessarily have to be at home all the time with them, but they need to feel some kind of responsibility as well. Right. So to kind of go back and piggyback off what you said, like, how do we continue to keep providing that resource, that source of love, that source of care when the kid is not also motivated?
Right. Well, I mean, you're going to have conversations, number one. I think that you're going to have more conversations than you're used to having, particularly during this time, because, although it's different, although, no kid really wants to, be forced to do something at home. They're trying to, tease out things. They're used to doing schoolwork in school, and now they have to do schoolwork at home when I'm supposed to be free and be able to do what I want to do type thing. So they're adjusting in the process. You're going to have conversations with them, because this is a great opportunity for you to really polish their work ethic. because what makes the best workers are individuals who know how to continue working without being micromanaged.
Right.
And our young people, our children are used to being micromanaged. They're used to having the teacher in the room. They're used to having somebody look over their shoulders, but we need to learn how to create some reward systems, even maybe, so that we can reward behavior that exemplifies work ethic that does not require much management, because that's what's going to happen. I appreciate you, because there are parents who are home. That's one thing, but I didn't even think about the parents who have to work because
Right.
they're essential workers and have to leave 12 and 13-year-olds at home. I didn't
Right.
even think about that. So if you have those individuals home and they have to manage themselves, and God forbid there are younger ones that they are responsible for watching as well, you have to have the conversations. You're going to almost have to have Zoom conference calls each weekend with your kids to make sure that things are in order. Yeah, I'm serious. And say, hey,
Definitely.
we're gonna meet.
Like family meetings, like
Yeah. I mean, have some ice cream, have some type of snack, something to make it fun. Don't make it too long, but you're going to have something consistent so that everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing throughout the week.
right. And I guess that's where we go with like the first point is the importance of communication,
Oh,
because like as a parent, and I grew up in the 80s, so we all have a different era. Your parents told you to do something, that was it. Ain't no explaining and all that extra stuff. You do what I say, and
Old
that's
school.
it. So now, especially with this pandemic, even before the pandemic, parents had to explain themselves a little more. But even now, it's just like, I have three different age groups. So I have a 12-year-old about to be 13. I have an 8-year-old and I have a 5-year-old in the home. So I almost lost my noodles because I was like, I'm like, yeah, I got everything I prayed for, right? Because I always prayed to be a stay-at-home mom because I wanted to travel and I wanted my kids homeschooled and
Came pretty quick for you, didn't it?
all of this wonderful stuff. I was not prepared. Like, it's different with being prepared and not. So when it happened, I was like, ooh, I never thought about the three different age groups. I never thought about okay, if I explain something to one, I have to break it down a little different to the other one. So communication has become a big part because like there's a lot of talking. Now my kids want to know what coronavirus is and why we're home and what does it do? And then,
While everybody is wearing masks, you're right.
yeah. So now,
right.
Break it
and then you
down.
want to know what's funny about that whole mask thing. Before all of this, I said I think it's a setup too. Before all of this, I don't know if y'all remember the dancers, the kid like them roly with a dab ranch, them kids that wear the mask with the faces, the funny mouths and all of that stuff. And I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand it. I was like, why do I walk around with the mask on? And now it's like, when you go outside, you got to make sure you're covered. And I'm like, oh. And my kids have so many questions. And I'm like,
Definitely a fan of and a person of witness that kind of transition when it comes to the kids. Me personally, I never had a consistent father in my life. I never had a consistent mother in my life. I grew up in my grandmom's care. So, for my kids to have what they have today, hopefully one day they feel grateful.
right,
I'm consistently on them about school, their work ethic, of course, but definitely learning. They have a learning curve. They have multiple ways of learning. Like, of course, I want to believe, and I believe in heart that my daughter learns a little different than my son. My son needs. I got to sit him down and be really personal with my son at times, because at times they are playing the game too much. They got idle time now. They don't have an all day schedule when it comes to school. One thing for sure, though, I know my kids do know is their schedule when it comes to Zoom. Implementing that schedule and implementing that quiet space where they need to go at when it's a Zoom call. Even when I told you about the therapy sessions that my daughter and son have, they have a quiet space. Implementing that quiet space in the house, I believe, is definitely have been productive.
Yeah, it has. Definitely.
Yeah. So when it comes to communication, I think parents need to remember that their main responsibility is teaching. Parents need to know that they are teachers.
Right.
Some parents don't want to hear that part.
Yeah, parents don't want to hear it. And I'm hoping through this pandemic that parents have a greater appreciation for teachers.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But parents are teachers, and you cannot teach without communication. You know, the kids, they learn their set of values from the parents, or should be learning their set of values from their parents. And if their parents don't want to talk to them, if their parents don't have time to sit down with them, if their parents don't know how to communicate clearly with them, that's going to impact, number one, the relationship, and number two, it's going to impact the operations of the house.
Right.
Respect on
you know, when you're working for a company, if your higher ups, if the CEO, if your direct reports do not know how to communicate, it's going to cause chaos eventually. So I think parents have slipped into multiple roles, particularly during this pandemic. They're not just the parent who's supposed to provide food and make sure that they eat and go to bed on time. They're the ones who are also in charge of the operational function of the house, employing their children almost, and they're also responsible to make sure that their kids, are getting values that they need to have, so that the culture of the house can be what it needs to be. So their CEO, their parent, and their communicator. It's a lot. It's a lot of an adjustment, but you have to be able to communicate. Otherwise, you're going to have problems.
Right.
So what do we say to, real quick, what do we say to the mother or the father that's just that single parent at home and has multiple children, that's going through the motions of trying to be a teacher, going through the motions of trying to keep the lights on? You know, what do we say to that parent?
Well, I mean, the first thing that I would say to that parent is to be realistic in the goals that they set for themselves during the day. You know, sometimes when you're a single parent, you tend to forget about what your limitations are, and you wind up overwhelming yourself trying to be 100% all of those things. It is impossible for a parent to be 100% all of those things. And God forbid if you are a perfectionistic parent, or a parent that has high demands for yourself, you're going to wind up feeling guilty and inadequate at the end of every day if you don't understand your limitations. So although there are multiple roles that you have to play, you have to be realistic about what that looks like for you, depending on how many kids you have and how many other responsibilities you have. You can't become a third grade teacher and be in teacher mode all the time. No, because another child might need a therapist. The other child might need the parent. One child might need a disciplinarian. One child might need a hug. You don't know what you're going to be pulled for.
It's a lot of roles, man.
Yeah, a lot of roles, but have mercy. Have mercy on yourself and know your limitations. That's the first thing.
I had did a funny and even when I was promoting this, I said, as parents, we lied. Like we said, "Oh, I'm a full-time parent," and I thought about that thing. I said, "Oh no!
Until you became a teacher,
we have not been full-time parents until now." And I said, when I tell you, I said I'm the lunch lady. I'm mom. I am. I'm the referee when they start the fighting. I am. I'm the therapist when somebody is trying to figure this whole thing out, like why and all of this. And you know, my son, and he's like, I'm ready to go to school. And I'm like, you can't go to school yet, you know? And then they're like, oh, I want to go outside. So sometimes I do let them go out and get some air, things like that.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, yo, I feel like I'm everything. I'm the assistant teacher because I got to help with that. I'm the tutor. I'm like, yeah, we have just taken that's why my first week into the full-on school thing, I shut everything down. I shut down social media.
Mm-hmm.
I was not taking on any new clients. I was not dealing with any present clients. I was not doing any design work. I wasn't doing nothing because I had to coach myself. Like, and then I had to talk to a therapist because I was just like, it can get overwhelming because, like I said, nobody was prepared for this.
Right.
So it's not like we were baby stepped into this. We were just like thrusted into this, like, boom, here you go, full-time parent, people out of work. And that's one of the things I didn't put on the bullet points, but it's just been heavy on my heart because as a teacher, as an educator, a lot of these kids, when they go to school is their outlet. School is their happy place. School is something they look forward to. So one of the things I definitely wanted to talk about that's kind of off, but it's very necessary, is that some of those kids, school was their escape. So now that they're home with that parent, you get what I'm saying? They're home with that parent or parents or aunts, uncles, whoever that they wanted to escape from. And then not only that, as far as parents, when they've already had some type of abusive behavior towards their children, and now they're more frustrated because we don't know if their job was essential or not, right? So now you're dealing with the fact that these children, and I think about it, I'm like, these children, youth, are home with their abuser, possibly.
Right.
I'm just like,
these are tough times because in cases like that, I'm pretty sure you as well as myself, we feel powerless because there's only so much that we can do,
right.
and oftentimes we know about these types of situations and can only speculate what's going on because we can't just show up and say, hey, you all right? We can't always do that. We have our own things to deal with. We don't want to be invasive. We don't know how much, the student might have told the parent about what they share or not, or how much the parent knows that child shares. So we're stuck in terms of our ability to really protect our young people. So there's not much to do in those situations.
Right.
If we can kind of develop some systems and put some systems in place, I think one of the benefits of this time is being able to create new systems.
Right.
We're going to have to be creative, create new systems that are not intrusive, that are not offensive, as ways of checking in on young people who may have alluded to situations like that, just to check in and say, hey, are they okay? We got to put it in our schedule, and they've got to know that this 30-second time period that they have to say, hey, I'm okay, or hey, I'm not okay, is available to them, and that it's something that they can look forward to.
Right. Okay.
So we're going to have to get creative and get creative quickly.
So next is maintaining relationships. Like, because
what we talking about here now? What we talking
because
about?
Now we're in the house, like we're with them 24/7, like, and some youth are very standoffish to people in their home. Some of them, they like their own space, they like their own privacy. And like I said, once again, school is an outlet. School is a chance for them to express themselves outside of the home. So now, and I say that because, like I said, I have a preteen. So like, what if they're tired of me or something like that? Like, how do How do I know, right? Like, how do we maintain these relationships and make them stronger so that way we when we come out of this, everybody's not running in 10 different directions like pew, 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 pew. Like, I don't want to be bothered. I was with y'all for months. And, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I'm listening for this one too. I'm with you.
listen, believe it or not, I have my practice has grown a little bit because of this as well with partners who are in relationship, but also parents and children as well. I think people are under the impression. See, my job is to kind of challenge these idealistic thoughts that people have and assume that get them in trouble. All right. So we are in this pandemic, and there's a group of people that feel like, okay, let me look at the bright side. I have my kids, I have my family. We're going to be closer. Let me create a whole bunch of stuff so that we can be in each other's face all day, every day, because that's our relationship stronger. I always wanted this opportunity to do what my mom couldn't do for me. So I'm going to do all of these things. And what people don't realize is that you have introverts in the house with extroverts. A lot of people don't realize that, but an introvert loses their energy when they are around people. In order for them to recharge it emotionally and intellectually, they have to be by themselves. So if you have that child that is a gamer, somebody who likes to be by themselves and kind of escapes into video games, they could be an introvert and you're an extrovert trying to get them, you're draining them, trying to get them to be a presence around you. Now the extrovert loses energy by being alone. So they're going to pop from room, to person, to sibling, to parent, to parent, trying to gain their energy by being around people and being stimulated. So if you got those two types of people in the house, y'all can't be together all day. Okay. Then you have personality clashes. Yes, you can have you can have 50% genes of a parent and your personality clash with that parent. Okay. Siblings have personality differences that if you force them to play together, it's going to cause a problem. It's going to be World War III. All right. So you have to take these things into consideration and not feel like you are failing as a parent because you haven't come up with some Brady Bunch example of how things should be at the house. Okay.
Right.
Who needs time for themselves? Who needs to be alone for how long? How long can these two be together and not fight? Am I an introvert? Am I an extrovert? Do I need time to recharge? You have to take all those things into consideration, and that takes us back to communication. You have to have conversations with your kids about what works in the household and not what you think will work for the household. All right? When you make the assumption that you know how things will work, that's when problems come in. They may not want to talk to you. They may want to talk to their friends, but you got to let them talk to their friends so that they'll have enough energy to talk to you.
Right. So I guess this is definitely the perfect time to get to know the individuals in your house because sometimes I'm an introvert. Sometimes I'm like sometimes I just don't want to be bothered. Then there's times where I just want to be around everyone. Just like my birthday is coming, and I just want to have a house party. Like I've been seeing everybody doing all the Facebook DJ house parties. And my aunt was like, "Oh, so maybe we should do like some painting type of thing." I was like, "I don't want to be bothered." So I really don't. So I really don't. I don't want. I know it's 10 people and all of that stuff, but I really don't want to be bothered. But I don't mind being on live, because it ain't gonna be a whole bunch of people in my house. Ain't even gonna be 2 people in my house. But as far as the children go, I did notice that with some youth, that some of them, they're at that age where they rather be in a room all day. You know, just you leave me alone. I'm good. I'm here. I'm alive. And then you have some that just want to be up under you for a certain amount of time. And then they just ghost. You like where they at. And
Hmm.
then you have kids like my son, my youngest. Like I don't know what. Like he just, I'm like, sit down somewhere.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the time for you to learn them. You'd be surprised how many parents I have come into my office and they are well into their 60s, and they have adult children who they don't know.
Mm,
They
Wow.
didn't know that
That's deep.
their child was an introvert. They didn't know that they felt like their parent was overbearing and just controlling. Like they find these things out when their children are adults because they never get a chance to get to know the child as they're developing and what
or communicate.
or communicating with the child. There are children who don't need a lot of management. That's just the bottom line. I was that type of child. I was
Right.
a child who did not need a lot of management. My parents will tell you to this day, they've never seen me do homework. Never. They've never seen me do homework. They didn't know when I did homework. They don't know, I mean, they checked in and was like, you good in school? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I would do homework. I would do homework during class in school. I would do homework on the bus. I would do homework early in the morning. So they never saw me do it.
Right.
But I wasn't a child that needed a lot of management, and they knew that at a young age. So they weren't overbearing. They trusted me when I said I wanted to try something new. They let me go ahead and try it because they had learned me.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity for you to learn your kids. Oh, they deal better with check-ins while this one needs to be watched.
Right.
Or this person, does good with long times by themselves, but needs to come out of that room every so often,
Mhm.
and I have to make them do it. So this is you learning.
Yeah, that's just like me. When I was younger, I didn't need to be. I hated being micromanaged. Like I did
Mhm.
not like it at all. I don't even like it at work. Nothing. Like don't be over top of me.
Right,
Sure, if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, and it's going to get done.
right.
And I did notice that, especially about all of my children. I mean, I already knew that everyone was different and separate. Not all children are the same.
Mhm.
But being in this space, you really get to like pay way more attention because you're not with the hustle and bustle of going to work or taking them to practice for basketball, football, dance, or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
Everything is like you can really, really, really watch everything.
Yes.
So and it's really interesting. It's really, really, really interesting. I'm even learning my kids as far as education goes, like how long they can sit still, so,
Yeah.
so that's a lot of things that like definitely when these children do go back to school, I think some parents need to have some thank you gifts for these teachers because like my son, he's good at school. You know what I'm saying? He does what he needs to do. But that sitting down for long periods of time, he's like his mom. Like
Mhm.
I go off real quick. I'm like, all right, next. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So even when I was in school when I was younger, I didn't want to be on a topic for a whole long time. I would check out because I already got what the teacher was giving, and then
Mhm.
y'all still taking time.
Right.
Y'all the ones that need the longer time, not me.
Mhm.
So, and I'm getting to see that with each child because while this one is having fun in their class and they just love to sit and they're ready for the next one. They want everybody on the Zoom and when is everybody coming back? The other child is just like, all right, are we done yet? Like, can I get off of here now? Like, so it's very different. And thank you.
Hey, I don't know what happened. Somebody called me on FaceTime. I apologize, guys.
Oh, okay.
I'm back on here.
There go LJ. He just, that's mama's boy. Like
Wow.
he's like, I'm building you stuff. I want some attention, lady. What are you doing? He see all these lights and computers and stuff. You want to say hi?
He's definitely creative.
Go ahead and say hi.
Hi.
They can't see you, LJ. Look at
LJ.
say hi.
Hi.
so yeah,
That right there is an example where parents can really learn their kids, because if you watch kids, they tend to gravitate to their element, and they'll start doing things that you need to take note of.
Right.
If he's building things and he's good with his hands, you need to take note of that, because that's the direction that you'll need to push him when this pandemic is over.
And that's what's so important about definitely growing in this growing during this pandemic, because earlier, like I said, I had a conversation with Nisi T about grooming the children and paying attention to their talents, because if this is the perfect time where if your kid can sing, if your kid can dance, if your kid, especially with, I've noticed that school isn't all day like how it normally is. So this is the best time to make an extra class, but a fun class. Don't make it to where the children like later on don't like doing it. But if it's something that they're passionate about, like my daughters, we take a dance break. They love to dance. I say, okay, put some music on. Let's do a dance break. Let's create a new dance challenge or something like that, because it's also building confidence in them. And then not only that, it's building and going in the direction. He loves cars. He loves building. So while we've been in here today, I went to BJ's yesterday. I found a little wooden toy thing, a jig for like is normally $30 for $10. I said, "Oh yeah, I need that." Today, I didn't feel like putting it together. He said, "Mommy, could I build it?" So he wanted his big sister to help him build it. So I was like, "Cool, go ahead, go do our thing." So this way, that gives them time to bond. And then not only that, that helps his confidence, because he's like, oh yeah, I helped my sister build this toy box. So he's excited. I'm excited because I don't have to build it. But
so hopefully those skills definitely pay off for him, going later down the line, right?
And this is the perfect time for parents to pay attention to what these children like, because I did notice that a lot of times when we talk about behavioral problems with these youth, is not really behavioral. It's more so of the fact that they are brilliant, they are geniuses, and they don't have an outlet. They don't have nowhere to get creative and build, or do art, or dance, or beat the drums, or
acrobatical moves.
Right, do acrobatical moves, because you got everything costing so much money. Every time you turn around, it's an arm and a leg to put your kid in acrobatic classes or something like that, or drum lessons. So a lot of this behaviors is coming from suppress. Like they are suppressing a lot of stuff that can't come out, because they got to go to class, they got to get good grades. Like that's all parents are worried about. Good grades, respecting your adults at school, not fighting, and all of this other kind. And it's like, well, when do I get the chance to be a kid?
Right. Yeah.
And most of the parents, and I can speak on this as well, and most parents, that's all they know.
Right.
Most parents, they don't know how to be creative and be more of an educate and bring it from a more educational standpoint for their kid. Me personally, I'm a witness to this. Like about 5 years ago, I became a full-time. Well, let me take that back, because full-time is considered teaching and all that, right? I have full custody of my youngest daughter 6 years ago, and like me, when I have a mother or father there to really show me that unconditional love, to show me those creative thoughts and creative ways to use my hands and things like that. I wasn't taught that. So for me to show my kids this, this got to come from a whole another level of like confidence and like rehabilitating who I
Right.
want to become. You know, this comes from a deeper place where
Mm-hmm.
where it's like a supernatural like determination to be greater than who you are today. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's where like I had to pull a lot of this from. You know, like I had to pull like wagons of creativity, you know, cargo, because like my family came from the struggle. Like my family, the the thoughts of, you know, trying to eat, trying to put food on the table, that's what we worried about. You know,
Right.
we wasn't worried too much
Oh
about,
yeah.
you know, that homework that was on the kitchen table and all of that. So like I can't, sometimes I struggle with this. You know,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I struggle like, oh, like my mom or dad never really taught me this. Am I doing it the right way? You know, my mom or dad never taught me how to cook, clean. You know, am I doing it the right way? So these some of these tools, if we're not looking, and I'm sorry, the light is the sun is behind me, but if we're not looking to be better than
Right.
our parents or better than our generational curses and better than stuff that's been stopping us and been trampling us these past generations, like we have to become greater. And I'm telling you, I beat myself up about this.
Mm.
I beat myself up about this. You know, me, I grew up in the grind. I grew up in the streets. So like at times, like I teach my kid how to make money,
Mm-hmm.
how to how to build leverage, those kind of
Right.
things, because that's what I came from. You know, like I dropped out of high school in 10th grade. You
Mm-hmm.
know, eventually I went back and I graduated, but like at a point in my life, I had to go back and I had to relearn these things. I
Yes.
had to relearn how to become a father. Like my father didn't teach me no these fathership skills that I have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I could probably talk and speak for a lot of the ladies out here too,
Mm-hmm.
grandmoms and moms. You know, um, a level of education is at 10th grade level and stuff like that. Like those are the kind of people that don't know exactly what to do with the kid
Right.
inside the home at this point in time. You
Yes.
know, and we can continue keep beating the dead horse here. Like some parents is just this is a struggle,
Yeah.
And
but
then not
it's got
only
to
that,
come
it's
from
all about, like I used to say, my favorite statement is like you can't be mad at someone for doing something that they haven't been taught. Yes, I understand, like if you want to be different and greater, you learn new things. But some of these people, the reality is they haven't been taught how to be a good mom, or I'm not even going to say like a good mom. They haven't been taught the proper way of motherhood, the proper way of fatherhood, the proper way of even being a grandparent, because we know now that in this day and age, some grandparents are raising their grandkids. So um, that's where these programs come into play, to where we're not replacing anybody, like because you can't replace
definitely.
them, but we can definitely help as far as, you know, shedding a little light on things, because yes, you have to be careful how you approach people who are doing their best. Like some people, they feel
Wow,
like
that's
that
big.
that is what they know, and they don't know anything else. So even if you try to tell them, because a lot of us have grown up in a world where we do what we see, not what I know back in the day it was do as I say, not as I do, you know. But in
Right?
all actuality, those generational curses came from us doing what we saw. So people are doing what they saw, whether it worked or not. You know what I'm saying? So if we're not seeing
Absolutely.
something different or presenting something different, then that's when the cycle just keeps going. But definitely, I definitely want to encourage those parents that they're only doing what they know. You know,
Right.
they haven't seen positive male role models. They haven't seen positive female role models. And I grew up in Harlem. So my mom she worked all the time. Like when I say all the time, I raised myself pretty much because my mom was at work day and night. So when it came to my sister being born, you know, she had a babysitter up until a certain age. And then guess what? I stepped in. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm big sis slash
The big
mom.
shoes on. Let's go.
Yeah, so now it's like, all right, I don't know what to do with a little kid. You know what I'm saying? I don't have no kid. And then I started feeling myself, and I wound up 15 and pregnant, had my son at 16. So then later on I found out that's why communication is so important, that there's a history of teenage pregnancies in my family. So I'm definitely using this time to talk to my daughters, especially about, you know, when we do get back into the normal, about, you know, little boys and hormones and cycles and things that like I said, when you so used to ripping and running and going, there's certain things you overlook. I'm noticing certain developmental things that I didn't see before, and I'm like, oh, ooh, where'd that come from? So I'm like, yeah. So it's like some of these conversations have to be had. And like I said, my mom worked all the time. So I literally, to be the parent that I am today, like I had to learn by trial and error. And then I had to say, you know what? If this was done and I didn't like how it felt, then I can't do this. You know, I shouldn't do this. And well, maybe if I do it this way, I get a different outcome. I do talk to my children a lot more than I was talked to when I was younger, because it was no communicating. It was no none of that. You did what I said do, how I said do it, and that's just that. So this and this is also teaching me more parenting skills and areas where I feel like I could, you know, where I feel like I got a little laxy daisy, and I need to tighten up a little bit, because I was like, ooh, like before you never did that, but because with the hustle and bustle, we let certain things just slip. And now I'm like, okay, now I can get a grip back on it. I can get a grip back on that. So I guess that's where we're gonna go to our last one, which is parenting in this pandemic, because this is for the youth, but parents are going to be listening to this too. So parenting in this, like I said earlier, this is new for a lot of parents, because we're used to working and operating a home. So now we're working, operating homeschool, operating meals and lives and feelings, emotions, just everything. Like we're just
So
yeah.
I just want to speak on the essential workers. Um, is definitely a tough time for essential workers, especially the ones that still got to put in those hard hours.
Right.
The 10, the 12 plus hours each day, 5 days a week, some even more, because
Right.
they're needed.
Because now they have to pick up extra shifts because
Exactly.
which
So
increases their risk, of what they bring home to their kids.
right.
most definitely.
So there, I'm sure, is a level of anxiety for the essential workers that the rest of us don't have. And they've got to be able to manage that in a way that they, are able to parent well when they get home, because anxiety, depression, all that type of stuff will affect how you parent.
Right.
So, when it comes to parenting during the pandemic, I think to your point, you got one piece about parenting where there's no manual for parenting to begin with.
Yeah, there isn't.
All right.
For real.
I grew up with an excellent dad. Dad who had an excellent dad. So I had an excellent granddad and an excellent dad. They taught me everything I needed to know about
Shout out to Pops.
man, parenting, all that type of stuff. But guess what? There, even in all of that teaching, there were things that I had to unlearn
Yes.
because of him. You know, my dad was a hustler. My dad, I remember him working 3 jobs at a time
Oh, he's
because
getting that money.
he didn't want my mom to work because he didn't believe that the wife had to work. It was the man's responsibility to work. You know, and even though I have his work ethic, he taught me how to work hard but not smart. So there are some things that I had to unlearn, you know, because he kind of operated his life in fear, and I had to release myself from fear in order to be the entrepreneur that I am today.
Right.
You know, so there's some things that you may have to unlearn with good parents. So, you know, if you didn't have that parent that was able to teach you, the wonderful thing about learning is that learning really comes from observation, trial, and error.
Yes, sir.
Observation, trial, and error. We learn by watching, we learn by asking, and we learn by trying. And if you can release yourself from the fear of failure, you will become a good parent.
Yeah.
And you will be able to teach, you know, your children how to be good parents as well, even though you didn't have that teaching yourself. So you got that piece right there. But then what if you're a good parent already, and we're in this pandemic, and you're trying to parent through that? I think one of the major things that parents need to really focus on or pay attention to is the grief process that they're going through and that their children are going through. And when I talk about grief process, I'm not talking about necessarily losing a loved one, but grieving the life that was. The fact that they were going to school, they were able to go out and play, they were able to call their friends when they wanted to. Parents who, you know, remember that I didn't have to worry about the kids; they're at school. You know, I didn't have to worry about being the teacher. I'm just the parent. All of those things kick into gear a grief process that brings along anger, changes in mood, depression, all of those types of things, denial, shock that you have to deal with in yourself and in your children. And I think that is the hardest piece that parents will have to deal with during this pandemic. How do I process healthy grieving in myself as I move away from the old and embrace the new, and also help to facilitate that grief process in my kids so that they grieve healthily as well?
Right. Yeah, that's definitely another part too, because um, you know, we have students who are missing formal, they're missing graduation, they're missing you know, prom, and I'm just like, this is nothing I've ever seen. You know
Sports,
what I'm Yes,
Right,
sports.
right.
ceremonies,
I have
all
some
kinds of stuff.
cheerleaders in my group. He has some football players. We got basketball players. Um, so a lot of them are just like missing out on all of this stuff. And it's like I said, it wasn't like it was gradually taken. It was just like it was like
Absolutely.
snatchies, like how they did back in the day, snatchies. So it wasn't a process. It was okay, look, this is what's gonna happen on this date, boom, you can't do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, I remember the first day, I was talking to Tramaine. I remember the first day I'm ready to go to group, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm getting ready. And then she's like, oh no, we can't have any visitors. And I'm like,
I remember that.
I was like, what
He was heartbroken.
So, and then the kids were like, are we still gonna have group and this, and the third? And I'm like, I can't come to the school because of what's going on. And they're like, are you serious?
So,
I'm like,
it definitely forced us to adjust a lot.
yes. And it has been a good thing. You know, I do want to see, because at first I had stinking thinking. I was like, this is too much, too fast, too quick. But what helped me was that, number one, I had to change my perspective, because I'm like, listen, I know the word. Like, I could do all things through Christ. It don't matter what a pandemic is. No, I'm not making light of it, but I can still do what I'm called to do in this pandemic. I just have to do it a different way. So that's when you have to reinvent certain ways of how you do things. And it ain't all negative. You know, it's some positives out of it,
Right.
because a lot of us are doing things that we should have been done, but we didn't. So,
Definitely.
you know, just like setting this stuff up. You know how long I was supposed to figure all of this out? Okay. But but because
I
of
said we had
this,
multiple conversations about the YouTube channel, all that. You
right,
know,
you know,
now
I was
you
supposed
like
to be
getting
starting
into it,
YouTube
right?
channel, and I started the YouTube channel, fell off because I was like, I don't got time for that, and I don't got. But it's forcing me to sit still and focus on still being able to give the youth a message.
Right.
Because definitely during this time, and it's so amazing that yes, we started this in the school. We started this in the state of Delaware. But the way that it's going is that we're necessary, period. Because it's not just about the youth in Delaware, and it's not just about um, the youth in our close proximity, because now all of the youth around the world are dealing with this. So who's helping
Oh
them
yeah.
through this? Who's
Right.
talking about it? And that's why I was like, listen, we got to do a youth recharge or something, because everything, all of the focal point is the adults. Everything is the adults, 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 which is
Mhm.
amazing, because yes, we are, a lot of the women are the head, then you got the males that are the head. Yes, we run the household, but we can't forget that these children have feelings. These
Yeah.
youth, they have feelings. They have emotions.
Definitely.
They may act out. Then you got children. I'm in a group on Facebook with children with ADHD, and I thought about those parents. I'm like, ooh,
Listen,
Jesus,
that would take a whole another Zoom because you got the kids with ADHD and you have the kids with autism.
Me too.
right?
Wow.
And I said,
Crazy, man.
I'm definitely praying for those parents. Like I really am. I am praying for them because I've been a teacher with a couple of children with disabilities in my class.
Hmm.
And I can tell you, as a teacher, I was like, what time do I leave? You know? Like
I'm
yeah,
not
it's
even
time
gonna
for
lie
me to
to
go
you.
home yet. You know what I'm saying? So I can only
But
imagine
understood.
as a parent now dealing with this full time, especially when you have special schools that can't open because they're trained to deal with autistic children.
Hmm.
They're trained to deal with, you know, like a lot of these schools, they have separate and small settings for children with ADHD. So now, if you have a child with ADHD and autism that is now blended in with the other children in the home, like you said,
Hmm.
that's a whole nother session. But I'm definitely praying for those parents, because I know it's challenging, but they will get through it. But I know. I've seen the videos in the group. One mom said that she got a hold of some chocolate and she recorded the child going off the wall like this. And
Turn up the gas a little bit.
I'm like, wow, like it's really real out here in these pandemic streets,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. So I definitely want to do this a lot more often, especially while we're going through this, because the youth need support and the parents need support. And some of them don't want to get on the phone with a therapist by themselves. They don't want to. So that's why I was like, why nobody doing lives on stuff like this? You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
this is very useful information that somebody might not go to the sideline and be like, listen, I need a therapist. a lot of people are not even calling their insurance companies to get a therapist, because they're like, listen, I need this. This is a good time for therapists and grief counselors too. Like you were talking about grief. Like this is the perfect time for people to get the help that they need. Because another thing I was thinking about earlier was PSD shows up in many different ways. I mean, PTA.
Yes, D.
Yeah. I said it shows up in many different ways in many different situations. It does not have to be because you in the military or whatever the case may be. And I said I wanted to make sure that I created a safe place because people need to talk. Like people need or just listen. Even if they don't want to talk, people just need to hear something different besides the deaths that are going on and the opening up of the state too early in different counties and just they're worried. Like there's so much worry in the world right now, and
I want to send a message to all those parents, the essential workers again. Of course, I want to just send a message that we're going to definitely get through this together.
yeah,
We're going to definitely get through this. A lot of us, a lot of people who have witnessed struggle, a lot of people who has came over the hump, dodged some things in their life. We've been, a lot of us has been living that pandemic lifestyle already. So a lot of this stuff is not really abnormal to a lot of us. You know what I mean? Like me, I'm gonna speak on myself. Like a lot of this stuff, like I just take it like a grain of salt and just adjust to it. I'm adjusting to certain things and just trying to keep my mind, stable, of course, and stay positive.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to thank you both, Tramaine with Born for Brothers and Dr.
Born for
Key.
Brothers.
Yes,
Follow us on Instagram,
yes.
Facebook. Please follow us, assist us, help us out. We are a young, growing Big Brother program here in the Wilmington area. We've been going on 3 years. I promise we're not perfect, but we're not stopping.
That's right. And Dr. Key, I definitely want you to let's give the people your information. How can they contact you? We know via Facebook, but email address and things like that, because I do definitely know that. And it's funny because when you came to the school, we were talking about the necessity of therapists and
I
especially
need one. I'm signing up
especially
right now.
ones with a spiritual background. And you were telling me I should go back to school, I should go in, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go ask him. And now I'm like, ooh, like I really need to figure something out because listen, but how can
Beautiful.
people get in contact with you? This is also went live on my YouTube channel. I wanted to make sure it was on both platforms. And then later on, I'll make sure I type up your information so that way I could shoot it out there. How can people get in contact with you?
Well, if you're looking for a therapist, psychologist, you can go to my website, which is www.drrk2.com. That's drrk2.com. If you want to send me an email, you can send it to Dr. Rayvann Kee II at gmail.com. And I'm sure somebody will put that up in the info. That's DRRAYVANNKEE 2 at gmail.com. Also, follow me on social media, Facebook and Instagram at Key to Wellness, KEE, 2 Wellness, Key to Wellness, and you'll find information there. Last but not least, I wrote an ebook in my quarantine time. That's called Leading Through Pandemic. If you go to my website and you click on the ebook tab, you can download that book, purchase that book for a small price, and you'll be able to share that with leaders, parents, pastors, whoever.
That's awesome. So yes, I'm definitely going to make sure we get all of that information up here for you guys. So that way, You could get connected with Born for Brothers. You can get connected with Dr. Key, and then also me. So I'm the founder of Secure the Seed, and this is our first year up and running. Started at Thomas McCain High School with the girls group, but we're not stopping there. Like neither one of us, Born for Brothers,
Shout out
nor
community and schools.
Secure the Seed and Community in Schools has definitely given us a platform in Thomas McCain to reach out to the youth and help cultivate them. So this is another one of our starters here with the live. So you can always follow me, Shanika Moore, and also you can text any questions if you guys have any questions to 302-613-9582. You can inbox me. And also, Dr. Key is going to be tagged into this. So this way you can go on ahead and communicate with him. And that ebook, I'm going to check that ebook out.
Check
Um,
it out.
and I'm going to
Thanks, Doc.
share,
We
I'm going to
appreciate you.
share the ebook, because I didn't even know you did. I didn't even know you did no ebooks for this. So listen, look at God, like how he like just so, but yes, that is amazing. And then, with security, how I'm just making sure that every child is a seed. So we got to make sure that the right things are planted. So this way they grow in ways that we can't even imagine. We do know, just like with adults, some negative things had to be untaught. So that's going to happen with you. But the Bible says, raise up a child in the way that they should go and they won't depart. Now, you got to remember, they may depart. They may go their own little way, but they're going to come back. Okay? Because you never, ever, ever depart from something that was installed in you. You always come back, especially if it was positive. So, I want to thank you both for being on with me tonight. And this is not going to be the last time, that we do something like this. And I do want to bring on different speakers and things so that way we can definitely keep the youth motivated during this time because this is a different generation. You know, everybody needs something different.
Definitely.
Everybody does not want to get on that one-on-one phone call with a therapist. Everybody doesn't want to look at a
Unless
Facebook
it's me.
Live.
Unless it's me.
Yeah, unless it's you. Because I can talk to you on the phone
Right.
all day. Listen, the whole girls group, okay, everybody in the girls group was like, how do I need a therapist. By the time that session was over, everybody wanted a therapist. I was like, wow, I never thought I'd hear so many youth talk about they want a therapist. I've never heard that. Youth don't want nothing to do with therapists, but everybody wanted to make sure that they got their mental check together. And that's what I love about this, bringing awareness to these youth, letting them know that don't listen to people talk about, oh, you crazy because you're going to see a therapist.
Right.
No, you're not.
No.
You want stability. That's what it is. Therapists bring stability to your life. So the fact that you want a therapist, the fact that you
Absolutely.
want someone to talk to as a youth is awesome. Because I know when I was younger, I wanted nothing to do with them. I didn't. I didn't want to talk to them. I didn't want to
So
see
if
them.
I ain't right, nobody else get right. I feel
Right. So they was like, "Oh, you got to do therapy." I was like, "I gotta. I don't know these people. Why I gotta sit and talk to them?" I was something else as a kid, like growing out. As a teenager, I was something else. I didn't want to talk to nobody. And then, I had to unlearn some of those things. What goes on in this house stays in this house. So I had a little attitude. I was like, well, my mom said what goes on in this house stays in this house. So I don't need to talk to you. I was one of those snap off with the mouth. But children, we want to make sure that if you need to talk to somebody, let your parents know. Parents, if your child is at that point and they're communicating with you and you may feel uneasy about it, but listen to your child,
Right.
especially during this time. Listen to your child. If they feel like they tell you they need a therapist, if they feel like they tell you they need a break or whatever the case may be, Watch those jokes that they're making, because there's a lot of truth in jokes. If any child is talking about life or death jokes, we don't want to take that lightly. I want you to pull your child aside, sit down, and talk to them. We definitely want to make sure communication is key. Don't dismiss nothing that these youth say as if, oh yeah, that's just them going through no. This ain't just them going through a phase, because everybody in the world is dealing with this, and it's enough to make somebody crack. So we want to make sure that we are retraining these youth and getting them used to talking to an adult, or just talking about how they feel. We want to make sure we create a safe space for children to be able to talk about how they feel, because there's been too many times where children aren't comfortable talking about certain things, and then you have news articles that we don't want to see. You know,
Right.
so yes, so that is all for tonight. And once again, I want to thank you guys so much for coming on with me tonight. And I'm definitely going to make sure that
Thank you.
everyone gets you guys information. Make sure you share this, guys. Like it, share it, comment, inbox me. I will be up for the next couple of
Give us some
hours.
feedback.
Yes, I do want to hear feedback. I want to hear what you think. And anyone else out there, if you feel like you want to bring us on to your situation to talk, whether it's in private groups, maybe it might not be a live Facebook. You got Tramaine, you got
Taking all
myself,
interviews.
and you have Dr. Key. Um, Let us know. Even if you want us to talk to your child, you know what I'm saying? Let us know. You have support. None of us are alone, and we definitely want feedback. So please let us know, what you think, and we will see you guys later.
See you later.